Hey there, card folk. Speedrobo here. I finally had the time to play and finish Valkyria Chronicles 4, and now I want to talk about it. First, I'm going to do a quick rundown of the series as a whole, then I'm going to talk about where I think and want the series to head. Cool? Cool. Valkyria Chronicles 1 was released in 2008 on the PS3. I loved it, and it's easily my most played PS3 game. The gameplay is a brilliant blend of turn-based and real-time strategy. You and the AI take turns selecting which of your units will make a move. The game then becomes a real-time third-person shooter. The graphics use the Canvas engine, which makes the whole game look like a watercolor painting in motion. There really is not anything else like it. Critics loved it. Good sales in Japan, but terrible sales in the States. Just enough to warrant a sequel. Valkyria Chronicles 2. Oh boy! It was released in 2010 on the PSP. There's so much wrong with this game, it's hard to really begin. Firstly, with the game being on the PSP, the Canvas engine's just totally gone. The visuals now look like a bad PS2 game. Gross. They changed the gameplay in a ton of subtle ways, and all of them are bad. I don't really have the time to dive into each one, so if you want me to do a full analysis video on 2's mechanics, let me know. The last problem is the story. On paper, the concept for it is great, but we spend the whole game following snot-nosed high school brats with angsty teenage drama. Ugh. Was this really what the fan base wanted? Seriously, Sega? This is my least favorite game in the series, and it sold really poorly in the US. Valkyria Chronicles 3 is pretty interesting. It was released in 2011 on the PSP in Japan only. Sega took the bad sales of 1 and 2 to mean that Americans just didn't like Valkyria Chronicles, despite Valk 1 having a super vocal and very loyal fan base stateside. Gameplay-wise, it's just a carbon copy of 2. Story-wise, it's an edgy reskin of number 1. It takes place in the same war in the same nation, and even the main characters just feel like the cast from the first game. But edgy! This one is effectively the Shadow the Hedgehog of the series, so I'm not exactly upset we didn't get an official English version. This game didn't sell great anywhere. Valkyria Chronicles Duels. This one's a mobile game released in 2012 and shut down in 2015. Once again, Japan only. It was a standard base building mobile game. I actually played this one for a bit, and it wasn't too bad, for a mobile title. Not sure why Sega thought the Valkyria brand was right for this type of game, but okay. That's really all I have to say about it. After the PSP lineup of games didn't do well, it seemed like Sega thought the franchise was dead. This sucked as the first game was amazing, one of my favorites of all time, and many people felt the same way. And then, the most important moment in the whole franchise happened. 2014. The Steam port of Valkyria Chronicles 1 was announced a single week before it went live on the store. Sega clearly did this port just to fill a release slot and make some quick cash. Valkyria Chronicles was the top game on Steam by the end of its launch week. It did so well that Sega made an official blog post thanking the Valk fans and ensuring that Sega now knows the West has a huge desire for this revolutionary strategy title. This event made sure that Valkyria Chronicles would forever be considered a key franchise at Sega. I'm a Sega kid, and the thing that I love the most about the company is that they always take risks. Unlike Nintendo, Sega doesn't just pump out the same repetitive formula over and over. Sega is fully willing to go wacky and wild. Even the mainline Sonic games change it up all the time. In 2017, Sega showed that they are down to do the same with Valkyria Chronicles. Enter Valkyria Revolution on the PlayStation 4. For the gameplay with this one, Sega said, what if it's all real-time and there's no turn-based element anymore? Overall, this worked, and I'm glad Sega went with something new, but I never finished this game. I found the gameplay to be a bit too repetitive and not really my style. The story was pretty bland too. Also, the visuals didn't use the Canvas engine for some reason. Decent game, and I'm happy that it's part of the series. Now for the big one. In 2018, Valkyria Chronicles 4 got released. This game was a true successor to Valkyria Chronicles 1 at long last. Canvas is back. The gameplay from the first game is refined and better balanced. The concepts for 2 that were good on paper are brought back and made not trash. The story and scale of this game is huge and amazing. Valkyria Chronicles 4 is my favorite video game of all time and has made this series my favorite series of all time. That's the rundown of the franchise. Let's talk about the 3 things I want to see next. While some of this might be a long shot, given Sega's habit of snorting cocaine and going batshit insane, I really do think this stuff is possible. First, I want to make a remake of Valkyria Chronicles 2. The story of the game is a great idea and would be a perfect endpoint for the mainline series. It takes place years after the first game. Gallia has fallen into civil war due to the revelation that the princess is Darkson. This narrative makes sense, and I love it. However, instead of having the story focus on the high schoolers, have the main character be Princess Cordelia herself, commanding the Gallian army in an effort to reunite her nation. In fact, all of the coolest battles in the Civil War happen off-screen in Valkyria Chronicles 2 anyway. For example, at one point the Gallian capital gets captured by the rebels and it's just mentioned in passing. Why? I want to play that fight! For the gameplay of this title, reuse Valk 4. It's great. Just a few changes need to happen. Instead of the ship orders being naval commands, make them Air Force commands. Airplanes were invented by the end of the first game, so do stuff like airdrop, supply drop, bombing run, and so on. Additionally, the Rebellion had access to V2 power armor invented in the last game. It just makes sense that the official Gallian military would have the same tech, so make it a new unit class. The catch with the V2s is that they are very powerful, but need a constant power supply. So if you want to deploy a V2, you need to swap one or more of your tanks out for supply trucks. If your V2 moves too far away from its power supply, or the supply truck is destroyed, the V2 is deactivated. In addition, this is the perfect way for characters from games 1 through 4 to have a last hurrah. While Valk 2 does let us know what happened to some characters from the first game, it doesn't cover all of them. In addition, the characters from the 3rd and 4th games are also Gallian, so bring them back too. It just makes sense that a large chunk of these characters either stayed in the military or rejoined to fight in the Civil War. To top it off, characters with the Darkson Hater trait from the previous games should show up as enemy ace units for the Rebellion. That would just be so cool! I genuinely want the main series of games to end after the remake of 2. It's the perfect place to leave off, and honestly, I don't think the series is getting better after Valkyria Chronicles 4. So, what I want to see next is a game that builds on the one new and undeniably good idea that Valk 2 had. Multiplayer. In Valkyria Chronicles 2, you could play local multiplayer versus a friend where you both commanded a squad and tried to capture each other's camps. This made you completely rethink how to optimize your gameplay in a good way, and was an absolute blast. The AI in this series is notoriously dumb, so playing against a real person really showed off what a great strategic experience this series can be. The only disappointment I have with Valkyria Chronicles 4 is that there's no multiplayer mode. So, yeah, I think a game using 4's mechanics for a multiplayer focused experience would be a great thing and tons of fun. The last thing I want is for Sega to just go nuts, do something wacky. Here's some rapid fire ideas. Shining Force Cross Valkyria, mash up your two strategy titles. Valkyria Chronicles Kart Racing. Why Welkin wasn't playable in Sonic All-Stars Transformed, I will never know. His tank already went in both water and land, and for the fly sections, just give him the airplane. Valkyria Chronicles VR. When you take command of a unit, it goes into first person, and you are the unit. Shit, man, I'd buy a PSVR for that. And there you go. That's all I wanted to say about Valkyria Chronicles for now. If y'all are interested in me doing a full dissection of Valkyria Chronicles 2, let me know in the comments. I've been Speedrobo, and I'll see you later.